champion now. If you thought I was a pain in the ass before, you got no idea what you're in store for.
Who the fuck is that guy?
The Doctor and the Driver podcast
starts now.
Welcome to episode 10 of The Doctor and the Driver. This is the driver Gage, joined with Alex, our first new video edition, which will be on YouTube. How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing pretty good, but I mean, it's technically not our first. It's our first knowing we're going to put it on YouTube.
Correct, yes. So our other two YouTube videos, episode 8 and 9, 8 with interview with Arnold Allen, 9
Great
interview,
guy.
Yeah, great guy, and 9 interview with Andrea Lee. Both of those, great gal. We always record with audio just because it's more like personable. We like to see each other and stuff, but and especially for the interviews we did, but we never.
And proof that it was actually them that called in. That was nice to know.
Well,
it's really them. Hey,
that'd be a scumbag move.
Dude, people are out there, man. We could have been fished so hard. I was starting to think we were when we were first talking to Andrea Lee, the messages that we were having. Dude, whenever she was like, I'm in the bath, I'm not ready, I'm like, fuck, dude, this might not even be her.
Oh, but it was her verified.
I know, but okay, listen, it just didn't feel right. But obviously it was her. Video evidence proof. Yeah, definitely her.
Well, yes, for sure. But anyways, yeah, this is our first one where we know we're going to be posting the video. But I have a few, and we're going to have an interesting episode today. UFC news. Spoiler alert. UFC 249 has been officially canceled, but we'll talk more into that later. And we have a special guest joining us. One of our postponed. Yeah, we'll call it that. One of our number one listeners at Grind Gang MMA. He's a German fellow, so we got to do our best. He says English is not his first language, so we will do our best to
I bet his English is good. He's just.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think so. So we're going to add him in here in a minute. But I do want to say one thing first. I got a few messages. Not necessarily from our last episode, but before, where people have asked where they can listen, and they're like, "Is it just Spotify?" Because I don't want to pay for Spotify. I wanted to put out there very quickly, every platform that our podcast is on is all free.
Yeah,
it's all free. I think you do have to create a Spotify account, but you can just simply not put a card on there. That's what I do. I don't pay for Spotify.
I don't either.
You just can't have. I think like if you can make a playlist, but you can't. You have.
It's on Apple. It's on Apple Podcasts too. That's free. Just if you have an iPhone.
Yes, and Google Podcasts and Pocket Casts, Breaker, Radio Public, Spotify, Radio Public, Spotify, and now YouTube. But I had a couple messages. They're like, I can't figure out this one or something, and they're like, I don't want to pay for it. Just I want to put it out there. Every single platform we have, our podcast is completely free. You might have to make an account, but you don't have to put a card or anything on there. But I just want to put that out there real quick. So
now we're on YouTube, definitely free. So
and now we're on YouTube, which you can watch us if you want. So sorry if our first two episodes, our video might have been shitty because we had no idea we were going to be filmed. So I was probably moving the camera around, and who knows, probably
a lot of our
ceiling,
a lot of teeth.
Exactly, because we had no idea we were going to post a video. We just decided. So, with that being said, we do have a new YouTube channel on my Instagram at Driver MMA. The link is in the bio to just our YouTube channel, or you can just search The Doctor and the Driver. I think we're the first one that pops up. You can obviously see our logo. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and we can watch our video there. But just full disclaimer before we get Grind Gang on here. Every platform we're available on is free.
No paywall here.
Nope.
We give the people what they want.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So Spotify, I think, was the best place to listen, or Google Podcast before. Now probably YouTube because we have video. But again, all free. I think you do have to make I think you did have to make a Spotify account, but you do not have to pay for it. But anyways, I want to put that out there in case people see our pictures or whatever, like listen to our podcast on X, Y, and Z, and they're like, well, I don't have those, and I don't want to pay for them. You don't have to. Just full disclaimer, I wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Alex, if you don't have anything, without further ado, we will call Grind Gang
Grind in here.
Bring him in here. You ready to call him?
Yep.
All right, let's ring him up.
Hey guys.
What's up, buddy?
Not too bad. How are you guys doing? You all right?
Good.
Yeah, we're doing good.
That's all right. What time is it right now? 3 p.m. on your side?
For me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm on the East
noon.
Coast.
It's noon for me.
Okay. All right. So, finally on the show here.
Yeah, welcome, buddy. Nice having you.
Yeah, good to see you guys evolve, by the way. It's pretty cool to see you guys grow and get better and better from each time for each session.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, not too
Appreciate
bad. Not too bad.
And your first name is what again?
Well, actually, Ertuğrul. Well, I'm not German necessarily. My roots are back from Turkey. My parents basically immigrated here to Germany.
Okay.
And my friends call me Eddie, so you should just
Eddie.
call me Eddie as well. Yeah.
Okay, Eddie.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah. So you were then the driver and you were the doctor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm the driver. You can call me Gage. My name's Gage.
Yeah.
Okay, Gage. And Alex, okay. But you got to clarify me up though. Why is that the driver and the doctor? What's the catch?
Well, I'm a driver.
Okay. All right.
Profession. And he's a doctor.
All right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So,
then, okay.
Yeah, I'm a pharmacist in the
He's a
U.S.,
pharmacist.
but in the U.S. you get your doctorate for pharmacy. So I have a PharmD, doctorate in pharmacy.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So how should we get going, Gage? Tell me.
Well, I think Alex has a few questions for you, sir.
Sure.
Yeah, so I was just curious. So your kind of Instagram page, do you represent a MMA team?
Well, it is an MMA team, yes. It's a small MMA team. I'm doing this kind of like Henry Hooft, you know this guy, right, from UFC, who is basically coaching all kinds of fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm basically coaching 3 fighters right now. Okay, they're not professional, they're just amateur MMA fighters here in Germany. So I'm basically starting small and trying to evolve like you guys, basically with the podcast here, nothing else.
Hell yeah.
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 So in Germany, would you say MMA is kind of one of those growing sports like it is with around the rest of the world? It's kind of it was for a while considered the fastest growing sport. Just curious if you see that in Germany as well.
It is a growing sport for sure. The only problem is that the government is having issues with this, of course. It's not so liberal like in the US, of course, where you can just have venues and people are beating each other and stuff. That's a little more complicated here. I guess that's one of the reasons why the UFC is not doing, like events on a regular basis down here in Germany, I guess. Okay. It is growing, yes, but there is not much money going on. So that's a big problem here right now.
Yeah, I saw that there was like a UFC fight night in Berlin a few years back. But yeah, I guess.
True,
so the government.
Yeah, true.
So kind of German culture isn't big on like the fighting thing, not as quite as liberal as in the US.
No, just like the same with the UFC fighters, German UFC fighters in the UFC. That's a rare commodity, right? I mean, if you looked in a Siever, Peter Sobotta, and all those people were actually fighting in undercards here in Germany in 2 events. So there's not much coming down from Germany to the US actually. So it is kind of hard. It is kind of tough to earn your money here with only fighting. Yeah. So.
Well, I'm sure you guys have the athletes. I mean, your soccer teams won the World Cup last time, right?
Well, that's the only sport, Alex, by the way, to be honest.
Or football, I guess, yeah.
Do you call it football or do you call it soccer?
Yeah.
It's called football, yeah, football, basically.
Football?
But,
okay.
Yeah, sure.
So if you are ever talking about American football, which you probably don't like, do you refer to it as American football?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was always curious about that.
Yeah, sure. Some people are going nuts on this stuff, by the way, regarding the Super Bowl and stuff, right? So.
Yeah.
Like a head coach kind of thing?
Come again, Gage?
I said, are you basically like their head coach type deal?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Coming from a boxing background myself, I have been fighting 13 years amateur boxing. So I have been doing the last 5 years luta livre. That's basically the no-gi variation of BJJ in Brazil. I don't know. Don't ask me. And have been doing BJJ with the gi on the last 1 year, actually, basically.
What do you like more?
Well, nogi, of course, for
All
sure.
day. Oh, yeah.
All day, exactly.
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
Well, you can use more brute force on with nogi. So I'm kind of like a heavy guy myself, so I would like to smash people as well.
Yeah, those little guys can hold you there with the lapels.
That's true. Yeah, that's exactly the point.
Yeah, I prefer no gi myself as well. Let's see. What else we got? So, I see you're wearing your Grind Gang shirt. We wanted you to wear that for sure. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Hey man, we're trying to get sponsors. If you wanna throw us some shirts, we can wear them. We can wear them during the show.
I can send some over as soon as I get to produce new ones here for the new season.
That'd be cool. I'm half joking, so you don't really have to.
Yeah,
but no worries at all. It will be all love over. Sending over all love, nothing else. No,
listen, dude, cool. I'd wear a Grind Gang shirt every podcast, and I'd plug it every time. That'd be cool.
Well, the funny thing is, I was basically finding this brand name or the MMA team name myself by actually referring to my father, who was like basically an immigrant coming to Germany and working his ass off basically to freaking build a life here down here, right? Yeah. And that was like the grinding from there. But as far as I heard, there is like a gay stuff going on with Grinder or something. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I would say people wouldn't associate Grind Gang with Grinder.
No.
Yeah, no.
You're not just saying that, right?
No, I swear, yeah.
No.
Like in American slang, like the grind or whatever is pretty common, so people don't quickly associate that. So I think you're good.
Yeah, you can say like a lot of people, if they're going back to hard work, you say, back to the grind. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Thank God, man. You guys just saved the day for me, right?
Yeah, you're good.
You're like all these years I gotta change my name.
No, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, basically. That's hilarious. You gotta stop being so hard on yourself, bud. Your English is great. How dare you?
Well, I basically studied at the Sheffield University of Sheffield in England.
Okay.
For 2 years, master's degree basically there, but I was supposed to come over to Chicago, Illinois, for a scholarship in soccer, having a soccer scholarship and basically studying there. But I was like a last-minute call to go to England instead. So.
Mm-hmm. So you live in England?
No, I'm in Germany right now.
You went to school in England.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So how many years did you just study English? Because I can't imagine just 2 years got you that fluent.
Not necessarily. I was watching movies all the time in the native language, of course, basically English, and that's why I tried to adapt and evolve myself into this.
It's very good. It's very good for sure.
Thank you.
Other than an accent, I would think English was probably your first language.
Okay.
What other languages do you speak?
You don't get the accent out. That's the problem.
Oh, what other languages do you speak?
A little Spanish, Turkish, and German, basically 4 languages.
Wow. Yeah, we suck here, man. We all only know one language.
Don't say that, buddy. English rules it all, So.
Yeah, it's hard to find Americans that speak more than one language for sure. Yeah, very rare.
Spanish, that's about it. You'll find people who speak Spanish and English, but that's about it.
That's about it, and not a whole lot. I mean, other than Spanish, or Mexican Americans. Other than that, not a whole lot.
Is that the school system basically giving you this precondition, or what is it exactly?
Well, you can take like 2 years or maybe even more of a language, but I think you only need to take 2 in school, and it's very, very, very.
Yeah,
I took 2 years. Yeah, I took 2 years of German, and I couldn't piece a sentence for you. No way.
And when we
straight out the window, 2 years.
Yeah. We say 2 years, but it's really a 45-minute class every other day for 2 years. So it's not like you're immersed in it at all.
Yeah.
So which one of you guys has been staying in Germany for a while? Gage, was that you or Alex? You?
Gage.
Yeah, I was in Germany. I was in Kiel, Germany. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah. Okay.
I was in Kiel, Germany for 2 weeks, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in the U.S. Navy, so
Okay.
we did a cruise in the Baltic Sea.
Uh-huh.
I think that was the Baltic, yeah, and then we hit up Germany. What else did we hit? We hit Germany. We hit Jesus, why can't I think of it now?
Wow. Doing really well here.
Estonia, Germany. That's
Basically passed through whole Europe, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. We hit like 5 places. I can
Oh
think of
shit!
Yeah, I can only think of 2. Estonia was my favorite country I've ever been to. Estonia was cool. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I can assume why.
Why?
Regarding the girls, probably, right? I had like a girl from
no.
Estonia. No.
No. I was only there for a day, but the town we were in was like all bricks and like castles.
Okay.
It was crazy looking. It looked like something out of a movie. It was like something
Pretty
out of
vintage,
Harry Potter.
huh?
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the town, but it just seemed like something out of like a Harry Potter movie. It was crazy.
Holy shit!
Oh, dude, it was like cobblestone roads, the whole city. It was just these giant. It was crazy. This big like open square with all these stores. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was the girls. He's married now. He's just not saying it.
Same like me, Alex. Aren't you married, Alex?
No, I'm not married.
No?
Gage is.
So you're the only single guy here on that podcast here today.
Yeah, I'm on the prowl.
He's not single. Yeah, he has a girlfriend.
He'll probably listen too, so I have to say
a serious girlfriend, he says.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to Alexa.
Yeah.
Is that? But it's not the set-top box, right? Is it?
I'm sorry.
It's not the smart TV stuff, Alexa, right? You do.
No, yeah, I do. Yeah, it's not the little box. Yeah, she's a girl. Yeah.
It's a human.
Yeah.
I'm just asking because some friends of mine, they are basically doing this cross MX stuff, and they are having Suzukis, and they refer to their bicycles as Susie. So
yeah.
Oh,
some people.
That's hilarious. Alex, if you want to dive into it, you want to get into the UFC 249, Alex?
Yeah. So I'm sure you've been keeping up with the news.
Yeah.
Already. UFC's been postponed. So everyone, I mean, when I heard about it, I thought I couldn't believe Dana when he was saying it. I was like, wow, this is going to be sick if he really does get an island. But then all the reports started to come out about the sanctioning of it. All the everything that's come out said, well, and everything changes so quickly, but with kind of like everyone could have been fined that even participated by the different boards. So whenever I saw that come out, I was like, uh-oh. And then eventually ESPN and Disney kind of put the hammer down, it sounds like, which is a bummer, but.
Okay. Well, to be honest, I personally, I thought like he might be able to pull the strings, but apparently not. So.
I think he did everything right. I think just the higher ups could be, and it's only because the UFC is now partnered with ESPN, who's partnered with Disney. So
true.
I think that he had everything that was going. I think it was going to work out. I think it was perfect. And then
they just said, apparently everything was on. He according to him, it was 100% happening. And then so the stories now are coming out that American policymakers are the ones who pressured Disney. So the governor of California called Disney, who's based in California.
Okay.
And then now the senator of California, who's the one of the top leaders in the U.S. government, had a statement already written right when it happened. So that's pretty. They were coming down hard on Disney. So it makes sense that kind of whenever you're and Dana White's not gonna bite the hand that feeds him. You can't. I don't blame him at all. I think it was awesome effort.
True. Basically, bigger boys calling the shots this time.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Big brother. No one's allowed to make money right now. Even though, I mean, personally, the way do you watch Submission Underground? Have you seen that?
No, not necessarily. But they are supposed to have a separate location or something going on, right?
So they did a Submission Underground, Chael Sonnen's, and it worked. Me and Gage watched it. We talked about it on here. So it's through ESPN Plus. At that time, ESPN let it go through. That was what, 2 weeks ago?
No. It's through Fight Pass. It's through UFC Fight Pass.
Oh, it's through. Okay, so UFC Fight Pass. But they were able to get it sanctioned somehow, but that was through Chael Sonnen, and it was just a ref and the 2 grapplers, and then the judges were remote and the commentator was remote. And there were all the cameras were set up around the ring, and it worked really well. So we were hoping that would happen. And I mean, personally, I think they could have done this. I think everyone's too.
It's just that UFC's too big, and they have.
It basically defies. It was what I think personally is the government didn't want this big of a defiance to happen. Basically being like, screw you guys, we'll do what we want. We figured it out to be smarter than you. I think that was the big no-go. It's because like they could have done it with very minimum people and it would have been fine, but it was kind of like you're kind of spitting in the face of all the stay-at-home and so.
But what's the situation like regarding the gyms up there, right? I mean, that's basically the event is just for one part of the problem. The other one is like people trying to prepare themselves for the fights. How is that supposed to go down? I have no fucking idea.
Well, I thought. Oh, you can say what you want, man.
Okay, all right.
We are an explicit podcast.
Yeah,
we say whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can say fuck. It's all right.
But
We follow, and like we were talking with Arnold Allen and Andrea Lee, and if you follow fighters on Instagram, they're getting together, like at obviously not the gym necessarily, but parks or tracks or whatever, and they're hitting mitts, and they said that they can do grappling with it's only a couple of other people because they don't want to have a whole room full of people, but they're meeting up. I'm not sure where they'd be. Lee said she had a key to her boxing gym, so she would just go there with one other person and get some grappling sessions in. And I see a lot of people hitting. A lot of people hitting mitts.
That's just my kid here on the next.
That's fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Hitting mitts like in the park and stuff.
But the other thing is like these are private people. Like around here, I mean, where I'm at, it is not very shut down. Everyone goes to the grocery store. Everyone's driving around. Like, yeah, there's stay-at-home orders. Like but it's not enforced at all. So everyone's still out and about. And like, so yeah, these private people with private gyms, it's not hard for them to get a couple people there together and try and still be within the rules. If you're under 10 people, you're within the rules technically. And they're not even, again, they're not really rules. They're recommendations because the U.S. is so very all about personal and independent freedom. So it's really hard to string down people and they're going to do what they want to do. So.
And that makes it, of course, on the other hand, that makes it more difficult to freaking control that shit what's going on right now, right? So,
for sure. Yeah,
there's downsides.
Yeah, like I seen a meme. It was like U.S. is now #1 in coronavirus cases, and like the first comment on there was like, "We're #1, bitches." Like,
again.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's American. That's Americans for you, man.
Yeah.
That's the #1 place you could pass on, actually.
Yeah. That's how we are. Like we talked about before. I was like, I don't think you can actually. It's going to be really hard to enforce that, like a real like quarantine for Americans, because they're just going to. Not necessarily me, but I'm saying like the American culture. They're just gonna be like, no, you're not gonna.
It's just deep in us. We're instantly like, fuck you. I'm doing whatever I want. Like,
well, that's the Constitution, basically, of course, right?
Yeah.
So how the hell are you supposed to change the Constitution anyway? It's not gonna happen.
Very good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
There's one more thing I wanted to ask you guys. I mean, what do you guys think about Khabib flying out to Russia like 2 or 3 weeks before the whole freaking event? What the fuck was that all about?
I think that was a terrible move. Yeah. As soon as I heard he was flying out, I thought in the back of my head,
I was so confused too. I was like, why are you going
he might
home?
not come back.
Yeah.
He has to know there's a chance he might not come back.
But I heard he was forced home. There's different. I heard things that he was like told you needed to come back.
What is that supposed to mean?
Kind of like the Russian government was like, come home.
Come on, he's staying all over the place the whole year, and now they're asking for him to come back. What the fuck? What kind of move is that? I don't understand that.
Well, I will say,
don't get me wrong. I do like that guy. Okay, I seriously, I really appreciate his hard work, his will, his dedication. This guy is basically carved out of stone. He's a good fighter from my point of view. Okay, of course his striking is not that good. He might be in danger against Tony and stuff. You know, you guys talked about this in the previous podcast, of course. And Eddie Bravo basically setting up traps, and then he might get trapped and stuff. You know, it is very possible. And I was basically appreciating also Khabib's will and his interviews on Instagram. He was basically posting up some stuff on AK as well. But that move basically somehow killed it for me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm with you for sure. The only thing I could think of is maybe because times are getting tough. I assume the majority of his family is in Russia, so maybe he's like,
Yeah.
I want to be with them, especially in case this quarantine does get more and more serious. He's probably thinking about his family number one. You know what I mean?
that
He'd
is
rather
a
be
good
stuck
point.
with them. He'd rather be stuck with them, I would think.
Okay. And Ramadan is at the door as well, so they're supposed to have
And
that.
Ramadan, yeah.
True.
Ramadan's gonna be a lot easier if you can't leave your house, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've been to Bahrain during Ramadan. It's weird, super weird.
Yeah.
You go out. You
can't eat shit outside.
I was on a military base, and you leave the base, and there's literally nothing. You can only eat food like on base because everyone's shut down. There's not really cars out or anything. It's pretty wild.
Interesting.
What did you think about them making Gaethje Ferguson for the interim belt? What did you think about that? Eddie, it's Eddie, right? Eddie?
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think about Gaethje and Ferguson for the interim belt? Because I wasn't sure about it.
Well, me neither, to be honest, because I'm not quite sure if Gaethje, I think Tony needs someone stylistically who might be challenging him. Okay. And Gaethje is like the kind of guy who is basically standing up and fighting toe to toe, right? At least the last couple of fights, as I've watched him, and Tony as well. And he can take it to the ground whenever he wants to as well. And Gaethje is a wrestler himself, so I think stylistically it doesn't match up properly. It's basically the same style we're having. And I see, in terms of cardio, I see Tony a little further ahead than Gaethje.
Oh yeah, I think Tony has the best cardio in the UFC. I think it's just insane. Him or maybe Colby Covington.
Yeah.
But I just didn't like Tony fighting. That's what I didn't like, because I thought we just want to see the matchup with Khabib. It's a dream matchup. That's what we want. I didn't want to even chance him maybe losing or getting
Gaethje catching him, knocking him out, and then it's like, God damn it.
And now we get
for sure.
then now we get Khabib and Gaethje, which is, cool, but that's not what we want, So I didn't like.
What would you guys would have had instead? Like probably Gaethje versus Conor.
Yeah, a whole new main event without Tony.
Yeah,
Gaethje versus Conor.
Save Tony.
Save Tony.
And postponing basically Tony versus Khabib, right? Yeah, true.
Yes.
Yeah, true.
Because they're both healthy. The only reason that it's not happening is because of the quarantine thing, right, and the travel restrictions.
Yeah.
So there's no. So they more than likely they'd stay healthy. I said just Tony should hold off. I think because, and then when everything gets back to normal, rebook it right away. I don't know when Ramadan's over before the summer, right? They could do it again.
Right?
Yeah, actually, yes. Yeah.
But that's the one upside I have to this whole thing getting canceled, because there's no way they're doing, in my opinion, there's no way they're going to do Ferguson versus Gaethje now. Now that it's all scrapped, I think we're getting. There's no interim belt now. I assume we're going to get Tony and Khabib.
So apparently, though, Dana said the fights that were supposed to that were scheduled for UFC 249 are just postponed. So it is apparently right now it is Gaethje Ferguson.
Okay.
I hope not.
That.
I hope they can. Obviously he can be like psych.
No. Well, is that supposed to mean that Ferguson is still fighting Gaethje even if it's postponed then?
Yeah. That's the wording right now. From what he has said in interviews, he said that the event is not canceled. The current fighters will be fighting. It's just postponed.
Oh boy. Okay.
So, but times can change whenever everything lifts. They can be like,
true.
I hope they do a giant fight extravaganza or whatever for all this time off. I think all the sports should kind of, because everyone's just been fiending.
I tell you what I think they're going to do. I think because ESPN came out and said that the amount of events that UFC was supposed to put on in the year of 2020, they're still going to do it. So I think what they're going to start doing is 2 fights a week once everything gets back up and running. Maybe a Wednesday and a Saturday. I don't know.
Sweet.
Keep us busy. That's my guess.
Okay. Alex, what would be your favorite pick then?
Yeah, I'm in the camp of I think Tony deserves a title fight. Like I don't get why he doesn't need to fight for the interim championship again. He
He was
deserves
already the
to
interim
get that
champion.
yeah, like
Exactly.
he like the interim fight's like why even I don't know why he even agreed to it. Like I wouldn't have judged him at all if he was like, no, I only want Khabib. I deserve a title shot. I want the undisputed title. Like I don't
That's what
think
I think he
anyone
should have done.
yeah, like no one would blame him. I mean, I get like I almost appreciate that he took the fight because he realizes, I mean, this is what fans we want something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he kind of put himself or put the fans before everyone else in deciding to do that. But I would have not blamed him at all to be like, no, I'm waiting for Khabib. I deserve my title shot. I'm the undisputed champion. So
True.
I think they should have just thrown in another big fight for the main event. Gaethje Conor would be great for sure.
Wasn't that in the negotiations as well? Gaethje
They were
Conor?
talking.
Conor said no.
Gaethje Conor. Well, before all this madness happened, there was talk of Gaethje Conor happening in the summer. That I think they should fight anyways. I think that's the number one contender spot besides Tony. Like Tony should get the next shot at the belt. I think Gaethje and Conor should fight, and the winner of that gets the next title shot after Tony and Khabib. That's what I think should have happened anyways. But then again, because we were promised a title fight, it would have been nice to see like Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman step in, just so we have another title.
That would be
just to have
too.
another title. Yeah. I know. I really want to see that fight. I think that's a great fight.
I know.
Thanks
But then
for
they
the
talked
really
about
good
Woodley and Colby Covington. I mean, they were talking shit on Twitter that it would like could have
fun
happened.
That's a fun fight.
There's beef going on for sure. Yeah, true,
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah. Who do you favor in Woodley Covington, Eddie?
That's pretty stylistically also pretty similar, right? I mean, Woodley is actually a good wrestler.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure if he can. He's using the reverse gear and fighting from reverse gear, right? Tyron Woodley is a little more cautious, and Covington.
Yeah.
And Covington basically always going straight forward, putting up the pace and stuff. So I don't know, to be honest. I could be going both sides. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what I saw it. Well, I always saw it because I think Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington have extremely similar fight styles, and maybe Usman's a little better of a wrestler, but Usman just took Woodley down over and over and over and over and over when he won the belt. I mean, if you want to go off paper, Colby Covington was a D1 wrestler, and Kamaru Usman was a D2 wrestler. Again, we didn't get to see them wrestle because they had no interest in doing that when they fought. But I can just, Woodley maybe just had a really, 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 really off night, which could be true. But I just, on paper, I see the way that Usman put work on Woodley. I just see Colby doing the same thing. I think they're very, very similar fighters, and I think they're very similar skill levels as well.
That's a good point because I watched actually 2 fights, and since you're mentioning it, it does make completely sense. I mean, Usman actually freaking dictated the whole fight, and since last time I watched Usman versus Colby Covington, that wasn't like a stand-up game, of course, because they both didn't want to go to the ground. But if you think about Colby Covington's wrestling skills, then it might end up the same way. That's very true indeed. Yeah.
I think that those two are the best welterweights personally, and I think when Usman beat Woodley, I think that was the best performance in a title fight for a challenger. I mean, he won literally every second of 25 minutes.
It was devastating for sure. Yeah, true.
It was hard to watch. It was like, oh my god, no one's ever done that to Woodley. You know what I mean?
No,
it's
true.
crazy. And anyway, Alex, go ahead. What do you think Woodley and Covington would look like?
I think I don't know. I like Colby Covington. I think in that matchup, I don't know. I think Woodley's on a downtrend right now. Maybe he could shock the world. And I think Colby. I know your opinion too was before he lost that last fight, it was 2-2, and then the 5th round he got KO'd. So I think he would be striving for a comeback. Kind of that after loss, like I hope he reevaluated himself and kind of get back into it. But I think Woodley is past his prime at this point. I think Colby's still rising.
Well, if you look at his last few performances, even as the champion, besides, which we talked about this before, and I forgot to mention, he beat the dog shit out of Darren Till. But besides the Darren Till fight, Woodley was having not that great of performances as the champ. He was having some pretty lackluster performances until Darren Till, and then he turned it on. But Darren Till was like 23 years old. He probably wasn't ready for him. It was like Darren Till's third or fourth UFC fight. Big fan of Darren Till, by the way.
Funny guy.
Yeah, true.
I like him. He's funny. I think he's really, really, really good. He's just young. I think he's going to be a real problem for people. But so Woodley was on that downward thing, and I think he just got what he had coming to him with Usman. And if you look at how we talked about it before on the show, if you look at every fight Usman's had before he fought Colby, and if you look at every fight Colby's had before they fought each other, I mean, they just dominate every second. Both of them do. I mean, what was just as impressive to me as Usman beat Woodley was how bad Colby Covington beat Robbie Lawler. That was crazy.
True.
He made Robbie Lawler look like he didn't belong in the UFC. And this is a
but that's exactly, basically, Gage, that's exactly what Alex just mentioned regarding people passing his prime. I mean, Woodley is on the downfall right now. I think the guy basically who was beaten up by Colby Covington, what was his name again you just mentioned?
That Colby Covington beat up really bad?
Yeah.
Robbie Lawler.
Robbie Lawler, exactly. So he was a pretty good fighter too, and now he's also on the down move, right? So I think that's just the time basically playing his game on people, on fighters, and then they one by one have to leave the freaking scene if they want it or not. I mean, just a matter of time. So but it was a devastating fight for.
But I guess my point is that everyone Woodley fights, it's devastating for them, and everyone Colby fights is devastating for them. And then we've seen them clash. It was an amazing fight. I think we're going to get. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think each and every time that Usman and Covington fight, we get that war, and I think most of the welterweight division is victim of those guys if they fight anyone else. I just see them both dominating everyone else besides each other. I think they're both on another level, personally. So, but I would like to see him and Woodley. Maybe Woodley turns it on, you know?
Yeah, proves us wrong. You can come on here and argue.
Yeah.
That would be nice, huh?
Yeah.
We'll get Woodley on here.
Yeah,
he Woodley on here. I can't believe you guys said
idiot. I'd love it. Yeah. You're right. I'm a dumbass.
You're right, man. Listen, we don't watch fights because we know who's going to win.
Yeah. So I was curious though, in Germany, do you guys buy the pay-per-view or do like bars actually play UFC?
No, there is actually the sports bar culture is not very common in Germany. So
really?
Usually people do pay-per-view, nothing else.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So do you guys as like a team, will you guys watch them together? Or pretty much everyone just buys their own fights, watch them from home?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we do. And it's pretty cheap too as well. So I'm not quite sure what the prices up there in the US are.
We have to pay $75.
Seriously? For a freaking event? Holy shit.
I'm curious though, how much are UFCs in Germany now?
We're paying like $20 or something, that's all.
What?
Yes.
Man, we're getting ripped off.
That's what I asked. Holy shit, I was surprised. Like $70. What the fuck?
75 for HD if you want to buy a card.
Oh boy.
But UFC Plus, Gage, don't they have a deal or something if you have ESPN Plus? Where'd he go?
That's too expensive too. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously people pay for it, so I mean, well, here though, a lot of times, like I like to go to bars are really common to just have big ass like sports bars with TVs, so that's where the majority of people go. So you don't have to; they're free. You just have to, buy beer.
Okay, like the Buffalo Wild Wings concept?
Exactly, like Buffalo Wild Wings. There's a lot of places like that. A lot of towns will have like local bars that do that. So that's kind of where I always like to go watch the fights. More fun I don't know. I like it. It's more fun to watch with a bunch of people, but
sure.
Get some drinks right there.
Everyone rooting for someone else. So.
Yeah. And now with sports betting, so sports gambling in the U.S. is pretty
Is that big?
mainstream now. Yeah, so
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
each states are starting to make it legal. So like I live in the state of Pennsylvania, so that's like Philadelphia is the big city that most people have
Okay.
heard of. That's in Pennsylvania. So there in New York and New Jersey have all legalized like they've legalized online sports gambling. So now you can just have an app on your phone and place like
Holy shit.
bets. So it gets real intense.
I don't know if that's good or
When people,
bad,
yeah,
man.
when
Like, I
people
don't
have
know.
money on it, it
This
makes
is
it a little bit
basically
more fun.
taking away all your money away. It's freaking.
Yeah, I've been doing okay. We were on a hot streak. 'Cause Gabe likes to gamble too. We're
All
on a hot
right.
streak with fights until the UFC Brazil. We just totally lost on every single one of those.
Oh shit. So what do you guys actually think about the German MMA guys at the UFC? That was like Dennis Sieber, right? He wasn't that successful, of course, but
Yeah, so I was looking at who's kind of been around, and he was the guy. He got TKO'd by Conor McGregor, but his last fight he did beat BJ Penn. But I mean that was an old
this
BJ
guy is
Penn.
past his prime as well, so a
Yeah,
long time ago.
but I mean I just think with every sport, kind of once you get, I think now in the next few years, as now that jiu-jitsu is kind of the new karate, and you have all
Mhm.
these like 12-year-old kids learning how to do arm bars and like rear naked chokes. I think the next 20 years of MMA is going to be insane, just
It's gonna
because
be
you're going to have these little practitioners who have been doing this since they're 8 years old.
those
I mean,
freaking ninjas.
yeah, that's what I think why we've had this talk before is why Brazil was so ahead of the game when the UFC first started is because all those guys were doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu since they were kids. But now I think the world's starting to catch up a little bit. And that's why, I mean, Brazil still puts out great fighters, but not at the dominance of like the Gracies anymore. They've kind of figured everyone else is kind of caught up. But I'm really curious to see, 20 years from now when you have these kids who have been fighting their entire life and you get these young guys. I mean, John Jones kind of was the first real young phenom to be like, the world champion at 23. But I think that's going to become more and more common as these kids are doing it since they're, 8 years old.
Which would bring me to the question of Gage and Alex, for you both, of course. But would you guys pick like a skill set if you would be able to pick two skill sets? Okay.
Oh, it's too hard.
Oh yeah.
Good question.
For a basically complete fighter, what would you guys pick?
Wrestling and
Very
Muay Thai.
interested in that.
Wrestling and Muay Thai.
Wrestling and Muay Thai.
If I had to, I think those.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Alex, what about you?
I think kickboxing and wrestling, because if a wrestler can keep it on the feet, as long as they don't get taken down, they're okay. So I think that's what a lot of guys, that's why wrestlers do so well is I mean, even though they're not those practitioners on the ground, but if they can keep it on the feet, that's what I think a lot of them have kind of mastered. So if you're able to keep it on the feet and you're good at kickboxing, I think you can, but I mean, that one time you do get taken down, then you're dead man walking. But
why kickboxing instead of Muay Thai? In kickboxing you can't knee or elbow, so I mean you're just kind of losing that. I think Muay Thai is the most evolved form of striking. I think.
You think?
Yeah, it's all 8 limbs.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, but you do see that stuff on ONE FC. I don't know if you guys are watching this stuff as well. ONE Championship. It's pretty much basically those Thai guys and the Latvia guys basically fighting each other. And usually when the fights ends up on the ground, they are screwed up.
Yeah, that's why Ben
Askren
came. That's why Ben Askren went over there and dominated because they're all stand-up guys. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and in the U.S. there's an expression. It's called "shit out of luck." That's what they're once you're on the ground.
Very true. On point. Well, I was asking this question because of the following reason. If you look at Ronda Rousey as a judo background, okay, if she would have like the skill set of Muay Thai and judo only, I think that would have been enough, okay? But she did just have that judo background, which she was basically good with submissions, good with takedowns, also top control and stuff. Basically, she was able to defend herself on the ground. But the only freaking thing what was missing was basically the stand-up.
Yeah, and then Holly Holmes, a kickboxer.
If you would transfer this, if you would transfer this like a gold medal judo guy coming to the UFC with good striking, I think that guy would rock probably with the UFC.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why Khabib is so good. I think because I think he's competent in the stand-up now.
Was he
I think
Sambo, right? That's the Russian Sambo.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't like it.
looks weird for sure.
Yeah.
Well, they wear like a gi top with shorts and wrestling shoes. It's like they mixed the outfit of 3 sports and just threw them in there. It's weird looking.
True.
But I think you could probably argue some form of stand up. I think Muay Thai is the best if you had to pick one, or you could say kickboxing. I think that and wrestling would be good because then you lower your chances of being taken down, being a high level wrestler. You could also, I think, argue Muay Thai or kickboxing and jiu-jitsu because if you do get taken down, you're competent while you're down there. You know, jiu-jitsu players are very good, you know, with the guard and getting back to the feet if they want to. So I think having only jiu-jitsu is bad because you have to get to the ground. You have to get to the ground somehow, right? And if you don't have takedowns, then you're kind of screwed. But I think if you have really good stand-up and just jiu-jitsu, I think that would be okay too because probably no one would want to take you down anyways, and you could work your stand-up. And if someone did take you down, you'd be competent down there. I've said it before on the podcast. Wrestling is a great sport, but in MMA, I think wrestling is just the art of the takedown because there's no pins. Once you're down there, you're basically doing jiu-jitsu. You're not wrestling once you're down there. You're not trying to pin someone. You know what I mean? When you get taken down in MMA, someone's going to go to their back and put you in their guard.
But isn't the top control stuff very much a wrestling thing, Paige?
I guess I think so. I think as far as getting their back flat on the mat for sure, but there's no guard game in wrestling. There's not. So, and that's the first thing that anyone in MMA is going to do. As soon as you take them down, they're going to be playing a guard. Now, once you pass the guard, wrestling is really beneficial, I think, for holding like a side control. Like a side control is kind of a wrestler can pin you there with your back flat on the mat. But you don't mount in wrestling. You know what I mean? You don't mount.
You don't.
And you don't control the back, which in MMA is probably the most important on the ground. You want to be on someone's back. Rear naked choke's definitely the highest submission in MMA for sure.
Probably.
So yeah, I think wrestling is great for takedown offense and defense, but once you're down there, I think you really need to be competent in your jiu-jitsu for sure. So,
and that's what I'm basically asking myself. I mean, if you look at the champions at the UFC right now, it's like, I don't know, from 8 out of 10 champions are wrestlers. Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
Sort of.
I think the only two off the top of my head in the male division is Israel Adesanya and it was Max Holloway, but now Volkanovski. Both those guys are strikers. Everyone else is a wrestler. John Jones does more striking, but he is a wrestler.
He was a collegiate wrestler.
Yeah, that's where he came from. He uses that to, maybe set up his striking. Henry Cejudo, the same thing. Henry Cejudo is a gold medalist, and he doesn't really wrestle, but he's a wrestler, and they have it figured out more than anyone. It's really taken over the sport.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, we haven't seen a freaking judo guy, a gold medalist judo guy coming into the UFC with a good striking. That's something we haven't seen for now until for the men's section, basically, right?
Yeah, because we have Kayla Anderson in PFL, who's exactly that. What you said.
I know, and she is whooping ass as well, right?
She's incredible, but I think of the known promotion, the PFL has the lowest quality of fighters. I think. I don't think.
You mean in comparison of the levels of the people, right? Is that what you're saying?
I think. Well, if you think of all the promotions that are pretty big, you got UFC, Bellator, ONE FC, and PFL. I mean, that's kind of it, right? Unless I'm missing something.
M1 Global, the Russian guys probably with this M1 shit going on. That's a little.
Well, I don't know. I know ONE FC in Asia. Okay. That's the only one I know of. So.
Okay.
So worldwide, those are I just think PFL is the lowest level of those guys. and there's not a 155-pound division for female in the UFC. I think Bellator might. I'm not sure, but I'm saying I don't think she's fighting top level women. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, probably not. No. The experience I made with wrestlers was like I have like first league wrestlers here, first league Germany wrestlers. They're not pretty good, but they're still okay. Okay, pretty strong as well. Those guys came down to the gym, tried to do some BJJ and stuff, or nogi basically, right?
Yeah.
Had the top control all the time, but like I don't know, like 4 minutes, I somehow get them into a submission. I don't know if it's a triangle or an armbar or whatever. Okay, I usually get them. And then you have like a judo guy or a Zambo guy coming into the gym from another gym, basically during open mats, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Doing the stuff with those guys, sparring with them, that gives me freaking hell.
Oh yeah.
Especially the judo guys.
Because it's a submission art still, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I think, like I said, I don't know if you agree, but like I said, I think wrestlers, once they get past your guard, are great. I think, a wrestler, you don't want a good wrestler and you're on bottom side control is not comfortable. They're going to smash you. But they once they have to learn to pass the guard, right? Like you said, triangles, a lot of them will probably try to stuff your leg with one of their arms and just let you throw that leg right up and triangle them,
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think a wrestler, if you just wrestle, I don't think they're going to learn how to pass your guard very well. Unless they try. I think they could learn quickly, but I don't think just wrestling helps you with stuff like that. I think if you were just wrestling offensively and you tried to incorporate that and you weren't learning any submission stuff and try to incorporate that in MMA, as soon as you take someone down and end up in their closed guard, you're probably going to get armbar or triangle. That's what I think.
Sure.
But yeah, once a wrestler's past your guard, I mean, you don't want to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the moral of the story is you really have to learn everything, right?
Yeah, that's one of the sport.
But Ben Askren's whole thing was he wanted to show that you can be very successful in MMA only wrestling, and he did that for a long time. He won 2 of the 3 biggest promotions. He didn't lose a fight, and he was like, "Yeah, I just wrestle." That guy threw like a handful of punches his whole career. You know what I mean? Other than on his feet.
True.
So it's hard to argue that that's not the best if you would just want to learn one. You know what I mean? But then again, he gets on the ground with Damian Maia and he gets choked out. So, but
do you think wrestlers have better gas tanks? It seems to
wrestlers?
be. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's just like that's the other thing. I think they're really good because wrestling is so
tiring. It's a grind.
God. And so I think that those guys come in already with that large, like their kind of their endurance is higher, so they kind of have that advantage over some people.
Well, here's what I have
and not even in fighting actually, right? Gage or Alex. I mean, those guys are basically, even if you put them in a freaking running competition or something, they go like fucking hell.
Yeah. They're crazy usually, especially Division I wrestlers that are in the U.S. That if you make it to Division I wrestling, you're an insane person.
Okay, so here's what I have to say about that, because the sport of wrestling is just I wrestled in high school and so did Alex. The sport of wrestling, the whole lifestyle.
We were not good.
No, I was not. No, definitely not. But the sport of wrestling is a grind. Show up to practice, you better be early, and we're going to hit a 4-mile run before we start training. And then when we train, oh yeah, it's just a grind. You'll lose 6 pounds of sweat just in one wrestling practice, and that's kind of lifestyle. You want it to suck. That's the wrestling mindset.
Wrestlers definitely have an advantage on learning how to cut weight, because you start that. I remember cutting weight in the 8th grade, having a plan on how to lose fucking 10 pounds in the next day or whatever.
Holy.
That's part of the wrestling culture, is cutting weight, making weight, killing yourself.
I think they're mentally the strongest though, because that compared to, well, say a jiu-jitsu gym is a fun environment, right?
True.
Everyone's in there having fun. We'll make little snarky remarks about warm-ups, like, come on, we don't want to warm up. We want to spar. We want to drill. Just roll. Yeah, and when you roll, you're exercising a lot and you're getting tired, but you're having fun. Wrestling's not fun. Like wrestling practice is you're just suffering the whole time.
Oh, moly.
Yeah. So it's a different environment. I think. I think the wrestlers are the most mentally prepared for, say, an MMA career.
That's what I liked about this brand Cage Fighter. I don't know if you guys noticed. You guys remember this one? That was basically Jordan Burroughs wearing his Embrace the Grind stuff. You remember?
I know Jordan Burroughs. I don't remember that though.
Yeah, he was basically sponsored by Cage Fighter. That was the brand's name.
Oh, okay.
They had like singlets and stuff where it was written over "Embrace the Grind." I'm using that slogan for myself in the meanwhile.
I see.
So,
yeah,
which is very true. It seems.
That guy needs to fight in MMA. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Jordan
probably not gonna do the transition.
I don't think he will.
No,
I don't think he will. Because isn't he doing the Olympics again next?
Did he like took part like in 3 Olympics and three gold medals? Is that correct?
I'm not sure. I thought he had one more left though. I thought he had one more Olympic left. Because how old is he?
Around about 35?
I don't know. Alex, can you look up how old Jordan Burroughs is? Alex is officially the producer of the show, by the way. I wanted to make that note.
Jordan Burroughs is 31 years old.
Yeah, I think he's gonna do one more Olympic
yeah,
Games.
Still got it.
Yeah, he's a savage. So yeah, he probably won't come over to MMA. He'd be a little older, but that guy's a savage for sure. Well, do you guys want to talk about but before we shit the bed a little bit with my Skype, do you want to talk about Usman and Masvidal?
Yeah, that's what you were saying before.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get that going.
Eddie, how do you think that plays out?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I think striking-wise, Masvidal is an old dog in the game, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Kamaru Usman will try to go toe-to-toe. He might try at the beginning to go to toe-to-toe, but I think this guy is a little fox, this Masvidal guy. So as soon as he knows he gets basically a couple of punches in, I think Usman is going to go like he went with Tyron Woodley. That's what I think.
Yeah. I don't think he I think it'd be a bad idea if he wanted to try to stand with Masvidal for sure.
You think he's not going to stand?
I think he might try to maybe try to make a statement, but
yeah, see what it's like until he gets hit, and then he's like, oh,
I think
fuck this, I'm leaving this, I'm going.
Yeah.
Exactly. Masvidal might be the best boxer in MMA, man. His boxing is.
Yeah.
Tyron Woodley has said for years that Masvidal has the best boxing in MMA. I mean, he's just his hands are so sharp. So yeah, I don't think. I think Usman's a hard guy to beat, man. I have to take him in that because, like I said earlier, I think if someone's going to beat Usman, it's Colby Covington. I think those two are destined to beat one another, and I think they're destined to probably beat everyone else in the division, at least for now. But I mean, Masvidal definitely is a decent wrestler. He's one of the most well-rounded guys for sure. He's got it all. He's got it all for sure. But that Usman's wrestling, I can't imagine him not being able to take Masvidal down. And I also think he's too good on the ground. I don't think Masvidal would be able to submit him. I think that would be rare. So yeah, I don't think he can finish Masvidal. I don't know if Masvidal has ever been finished in the UFC. I don't think he has. Alex, you might want to look that up. I mean, I don't think he's ever been finished. Not in the UFC, anyways. So, yeah, I think kind of what you said, Eddie. I think probably maybe not as dominant as Woodley. I mean, I hope not. I'm a Masvidal fan myself. But I think he would take him down quite a lot and control on the ground and win rounds that way. Probably win a clear-cut decision. Alex, you can give us your opinion next on that fight, and also if you want to answer if you know if Masvidal's been finished or not.
Yeah, I do know. Okay. Come on.
Okay.
All right.
He's all
So
over.
the last time he lost, that was not decision, was in Bellator in 2009. He got triangle choked
Okay.
by Toby Imada.
So yeah, the guy hasn't been finished in 11 years.
Yeah.
Holy
So
shit.
and yeah. So I would love to see that fight. I think it'd be an interesting fight. I do think I agree with you, Gage. I think Usman's a hard guy to beat. I love Jorge. I love his attitude. I want to see Jorge Connor. I think that'll be by far one of the most entertaining like build-ups to a fight. Two like legit shit talkers. I haven't heard anything of them not liking each other. So it might be more like kind of a respectful one, kind of like his and Nate Diaz.
No, they talk shit.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll talk shit to each other. So that'll be entertaining. Like
For
the most
sure.
entertaining.
They talk shit.
Yeah. So I'd love to see kind of the build up for that fight. And I think again, like when you look at like who Connor needs to fight next, like it's either Jorge or Gaethje is really like. But yeah, but I think against Usman, unless Jorge does something crazy like he did against Ben Askren, I see Usman winning.
I'm with you. How about Conor Gaethje? While we're talking about it, Eddie, what do you think with Conor Gaethje? I think it's a really, really, really good fight, man. I'd love to see that fight.
Well, if you look at Gaethje's fights, actually he is a wrestler, right? I have no freaking idea what he wrestled actually in the US. What did he wrestle? What was
He wrestled in college, but he never wrestles in the cage. It's just kind of like a backup weapon. I think he was a D1. I think he was like a All-American, 2-year All-American or something somewhere. Alex was looking it up now.
That's
very high level.
That's basically what I'm trying to refer to, right? I mean, Gaethje doesn't wrestle; he just strikes, okay?
Yeah.
Like trying to put pressure on the guy, overwhelming strikes, eating a lot of shots himself, and then trying to go forward. I'm not quite sure if that's a good idea against Conor McGregor because he's actually a good striker himself. So.
Yeah, I've said that before as well. I'm with you because Gaethje's hittable. That's the thing.
Exactly.
And,
he eats those shots for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to get in those dogfights. He's very hittable, but I think, yeah, and if you're very hittable, the last thing you want to be hit with is Conor's left hand. You know what I mean?
That's freaking true.
Yeah. That's a Barrett 50 cal sniper right down the pipe.
Oh yeah.
Unless your name's Nate Diaz, that's putting you away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah, but Gaethje came in 7th in D1 in 2010. He wrestled for Colorado, so he came in 7th in the country for his division. Or for D1, which is impressive. He's an elite wrestler.
How many years was he All-American? Does that say?
It didn't give me that. It just said his placing. He was an All-American at least once.
So if he decides to put it on as a grudge match, as a wrestling match, then I think he might get it. Because if you look at McGregor, I think I gave you this as a fan question, if you remember, Gage.
Yes, sir.
There was only 2 occasions where actually McGregor fought like a wrestler. That was like Mendes in the first fight, and he had a lot of troubles actually going on there because he had like 2 weeks preparation time or something. He just gassed out.
Yeah.
And Khabib.
I think if Mendes had a full camp, that would have been a nightmare for Conor.
True.
Because he was just slicing him up on the ground.
Smashing him, right? Yeah.
Smashing him. And then that end of that second round, he was so tired. He had like 10 days to prepare. So,
oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out.
And Conor was also exhausted, as Conor typically gets. So,
True.
So, yeah, I think Mendes would have a much better gas tank. And I still think Conor would have been tired. And I think that would have been I think a really good wrestler is Conor's kryptonite. That and Conor's own gas tank. That's it. You know what I mean? Conor wants to run in and run out. You know what I mean? He's like a quarantine grocery store shop. You know, you want to run in that store and run out. That's what Conor wants.
Good analogy.
Yeah, thank you. So I just don't think Gaethje has any interest in wrestling. I think he's like, I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna pepper you. And Alex, look this up. I think every one of his wins. I think he's 22-2. I think every one of Gaethje's wins are knockouts. Every single one. He knocked everybody.
No nothing, huh?
I think Alex is looking it up. I think everyone.
He has one submission and one decision.
Okay.
Besides that, all knockouts.
20 knockouts. We said one decision, so 21.
Yeah. This was not
finishes.
in the UFC. This is when he was an amateur. In the UFC, he has only.
In the UFC, they're definitely all. Well, he lost.
Yeah.
He got knocked out.
Twice.
Knocked out by Poirier. Knocked out by Alvarez.
Yeah.
And then every other one. Was it 3 more or 4 more? Knockout wins?
He has 1, 2, 3. He's on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC with all KOs, TKOs.
Yeah. I think he just wants to say he has that great wrestling. Like, no, I got some heat in my right hand. I put most guys away, and you're not taking me to the ground to get away from it because I don't think you can take him down. His wrestling is so good. He's hard. That's why a lot of people think that Gaethje and Khabib is a really good matchup because a lot of people think Khabib would have some serious trouble taking Gaethje down. So
wasn't that with that guy from New York? What was his name again? Who actually jumped into the fight with Khabib?
Ally Quinta?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a wrestler too? He took him down too a couple of times, so that wasn't a problem at all. Actually, he didn't look that good, of course, but
no. But I don't think Ally Quinta is as good of a wrestler as Justin Gaethje is. But Tony Ferguson's a really high level wrestler. He's a D1, I think, All-American as well. But the difference is I don't think Tony cares if you take him down. I don't think Tony would try to stuff it. I think he'd be fine going to the ground. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think he would try to wrestle Conor. I think he would want to stand and bang. I mean, those two guys are probably the two hardest hitters in lightweight. They're the only two that come to mind that knock out everybody. So I think it'd just be a knockout war. I think Gaethje's more of a brawler and Conor's more of a martial artist. You know what I mean? I think he's more of an elite striker. You know, like I said, Conor's left hand it's a sniper. I mean, he's very, very, very technical.
Precise with the hand.
Very precise, very technical, and very, very high fight IQ, which I don't think Gaethje necessarily has. I think he goes in there and he's like, I got some power in my right hand, and I'm gonna throw it, and we're gonna see what happens. And I think that's what got him in trouble against Poirier and Alvarez. So I do think it'd be a really good fight, and he could definitely knock out Conor, which Conor's never been knocked out before. And but Conor is so much more technical. It's hard to not favor Conor. But I do think it'd be a fun fight.
That's basically a point I don't understand, Gage, Alex. Look, Conor is basically pretty much good with his hands, with his striking, with his kicks and stuff, you know. So he's standing definitely toe to toe, right? Toe to toe. He is using his stand-up. He's not going to the freaking ground, okay? So if Gaethje is a freaking good of a wrestler, why doesn't he take the guy down and just smash him on the ground? I don't understand that. Is that like lacking of fight IQ or something? Or I have no freaking idea. John Jones, for instance, against this Dominic Reyes. Okay, he's basically standing up 2 rounds toe-to-toe and then trying to take him down. That's not going to work out.
No.
So
well,
why don't you try to take him down before?
Well, there's actually, and that's a great point because there's 3 people that come to my head when you're thinking that. I think Justin Gaethje, why doesn't he use it? It's a great tool that he has. John Jones should have used it against Reyes early.
Romero.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my third one.
Exactly.
That's my third one. Yoel Romero. I don't know. And John Jones could have definitely used it his last fight before Reyes with Thiago Santos. He definitely could have used that. He didn't. He just didn't. I don't know.
I think it's because the pressure of wanting to put on an exciting fight. Like you always hear it from at least John Jones after he's always like, so sorry to the fans. Like I couldn't, because like, especially for him, he's known for the highlight knockout. Like that's what built his career. That's why people love him. So I could see that kind of being a pressure of like, if I go and kind of just take guys down and just have a boring fight, I'm not going to get
Khabib, let's say.
Yeah. Like if I fight like Khabib, like I'm not going to have the fan base is going to be pissed at me, and I'm going to get 1,000 people on Twitter saying that shit was boring.
Well, I've heard.
Why not mixing it up? I mean, just use the first 2 rounds to fucking smash this guy, right? And then the last 3 rounds, you can do whatever you want on the ground, on the stand-up.
I've heard. I don't remember who. I don't remember who said it, so I don't know. I've heard people say that they think the reason like Yoel Romero doesn't do it is because wrestling is so exhausting, and he's shown he might not have the best tank, and he's much older. They think he's afraid that he's going to go out there and take down, and then, oh shit, I'm tired, and I got 3 rounds to go. So they think that a lot of the guys, or at least Yoel Romero, they think that they're scared to try to start wrestling and wear themselves out. I don't know how true that is, but I mean, wrestling is definitely exhausting for sure. So I don't know.
Not quite sure, to be honest. I mean, those guys are through and through sports guys, right? Athletes, right? I mean, Joel Romero was before he came to the UFC. He was in Germany actually, all right, training down here, and was also wrestling down in the first league here. He was ankle picking all kinds of people here in the first league and stuff. There was no problem for this guy. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say, my point is, this guy knows about his energy management stuff, right? I mean, he knows his body, right? So he should also be able to know how much fuel he has left in the tank. So if I shoot rather at the beginning of the round instead of like at the end of the 4th round. That doesn't make any sense anymore because there's no power at all anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, maybe these guys need to sign with you, man. Get you in the corner.
I'm not quite sure, buddy. I'm trying to build up myself as well. So I'm learning as I'm going with my boys right now. So.
Oh yeah. So predictions for that. I'll say Conor just because he's more technical.
I think so too. I don't think Gaethje is gonna go to the ground. So he's gonna stand up, try to prove a point, and then he's gonna just get smashed by Conor.
Alex,
what do you say?
I agree. I'm never gonna doubt on Conor. He's too much fun to watch. He has shocked me so many times that, you never know. That left hand is a weapon that can't believe. Never know when it's gonna land and what it's gonna do.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what it's gonna do.
Oh yeah.
Eddie Alvarez learned that 3 times in their first round. He sat Eddie Alvarez down. I think it was the most knockdowns in a title fight in one round of a title fight.
Brutal.
Did you guys ever have the expectation that he is gonna beat Conor anyway? Seriously?
Who's gonna beat Conor?
Eddie Alvarez.
I wanted to.
I never thought, to be honest.
I like Eddie Alvarez because he's from Philadelphia, so around where I'm from. So I was Eddie, come on. But
he can wrestle. I was thinking he can wrestle and he's bigger, but too little, too late. I don't know. Conor really is special. Like we talked about before, with your listener question. No, I don't think he's the greatest of all time. I don't think he should really be in that conversation. But he's special. He really is. I mean, there's something about him, and he's there's no other way to put it. He's special. His left hand is as scary as it gets, but he's also very, very technical. He managed. He and John Jones both are like experts at range.
Yeah, true.
Conor always knows when he's safe, just like John Jones. He's excellent, and Conor has that like karate style in and out on his toes. He'll slide in to pop you with a 1-2 maybe, and then he's out. He's out of there. You know what I mean?
True.
Like that's what he did against Josie Aldo. In and out, in out, in out, in out. I think Josie Aldo threw one right hand, in out, in out. And as soon as Josie Aldo jumped in that range and was able to be hit, slept him. He's definitely a special martial artist for sure. It's hard to bet against him against a lot of people, except Khabib. I don't think he ever beats Khabib.
it actually also freaked me out at the end of the fight with Khabib and Conor. You remember where there was a fucking tumult going on?
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And then the people jumping in the cage, and the guy tried to attack him, and he fucking smashed him with that left hand as well. I was like, holy fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Even at that stage, even after the fight, he was able to throw that freaking punch.
and he was exhausted.
And he hit him. He got him as well.
He landed a nice left hand for sure. Remember, he had his back up against the fence, right?
Exactly.
All this chaos was going on. As soon as his homeboy ran close, he said, "Snap!" Snapped it in there. Yeah. Yeah, he's special to watch, man. It's not just his persona. He's definitely a very talented martial artist, no doubt. So.
Of course, it's a different pair of shoes if he is on a personal level. If he's okay on it, I don't know. I don't, to be honest, I don't respect his lifestyle and stuff outside the UFC, like how he is actually I don't know, the stuff which goes through the social media, him hitting people in the bar and smashing phones to the ground of fans and stuff. I don't like that kind of behavior anyway. But I think I think the fame goes a little off the head, maybe.
Yep.
I don't know.
I think exactly the fame and the money. I think
he did just donate like over $1 million to like first responders. Conor McGregor, he does weird shit like that. Like, yeah, I just saw it on Twitter. He donated like a.
You wouldn't guess, huh?
Yeah, he donated $1 million to this U.S. fund called like Tunnels for Towers, where they like build homes for veterans in the U.S. He donated $1 million. He does weird stuff like that, and then you hear about him punching an old guy at a bar, and
fucking
you're like,
it all up
man.
again.
Yeah.
I hear he likes the ladies too. I hear he gets in trouble with.
What? He cheats on Nicole?
Her name is not Nicole.
Is it? Shit! I thought it was.
It's D.
Is it D?
Yeah, that's D.
Oh,
how dare you?
My bad.
Come on, dude.
We'll get him on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure. That's hilarious. Alex, you can steer us what's next.
What do I have on here? Well, I thought it was interesting. Did you guys hear how I always think it's so weird with the UFC and their like communication process? So like Tony Ferguson didn't find out UFC 249 was canceled. Like he found out in the middle of an interview. Like some other guy like was interviewing him like on a phone call, and he was like, I actually just got a notification on Twitter that like UFC's been canceled. And he was like, what?
Shit.
So it's just so weird. And I feel like that's happened with other things too, where guys haven't found out. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, it's weird. I would think they would be better at that, but I guess not.
Probably.
Seems like that's a
learning
thing.
process. Come again?
I said, seems like that's kind of a thing. Alex, do you remember on the JRE with Michael Bisping? He said he found out that it was announced that he got that title fight on 14 days notice, and no one even told him.
Yeah, I think it's because like Twitter is just so fast now. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, like it seems like not even, I know like a lot of sports, like how many, like all the dudes like find out, like even with like NFL, like American football, guys find out they're being traded through Twitter. Like the teams,
that's
like
crazy.
Twitter's faster than the team office that's like supposed to reach out to you. But there's just a weird thing that I saw, and I was like, it's interesting news for people that didn't know. Tony Ferguson didn't know until some guy told him. So.
That's pretty funny.
Well, I'm actually working down here for the government here, for the German government. And usually when they get like news out and stuff, you probably hear that through a newspaper first instead of like from your management. So it's the same thing going on down here as well.
No kidding.
So, pretty weird.
But and other UFC news, Dana White is saying though, Fight Island is a real thing. And that's kind of because all the sports leagues, at least the U.S. sports leagues, are all going through these like figuring out when things will be lifted, because most likely the sanctions are going to be slow. So they're going to open things up, but again, have a limited crowd. So they've all been trying to figure out like how they're going to do this. So apparently UFC for real is going to have a Fight Island. Everything's apparently set up so that even though things are postponed, whenever things do slowly open up where they do allow limited groups of people, there really is going to be a Fight Island somewhere, which he hasn't revealed the location. I guess they probably.
I don't think he ever will.
But
he said something. He said something.
Well, why not? Why not, Gage? Why not?
I don't think he wants anyone.
It'll get out though. There's no way it won't. Like, there's no way that doesn't get leaked.
He said the fighters are all going to hop on a private jet, and they're not even going to know where they're going.
Well, I saw on his Instagram that he released, he said like he's going to start flying people out there early. They're like building a gym. Like, I'm sure there's going to be like images, like satellite images that come out.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Something like being built somewhere.
You're probably right.
Apparently he's going to build a whole training facility down there. So whenever fighters are like ready to come fight, he flies them out early and they can train on the island preparing. So
that's cool.
Nice.
Again, much hats off to Dana White. I believe the guy, like every intention. He was so close to making this fight happen against all odds, but I just think apparently Fight Island's going to be real. So that's cool.
That's super cool. That's a baller move, dude. Yeah, I'm just going to buy an island.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm just all right, whatever. I'll fly fighters out here. I'll buy a gym. Like,
that's crazy. Dana
yeah.
White's a boss.
I think those Fertitta brothers, those CEO guys from the UFC, they would have enough sufficient funds to do it anyway.
They're
So
billionaires. Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Damn.
But yeah, that's all I had on the docket.
That's it. We
Mhm.
gotta ask Eddie, just for fun. Eddie, who's your favorite fighter?
Yeah.
My favorite fighter right now, I think it's Kamaru Usman.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
You could have told us that when we were talking about
Yeah,
it.
anyway. Yeah.
I think it's him, actually. I mean, he does have a good stand-up. He does have a good ground game and stuff, so he can dominate you with the wrestling. And he is using it at will, so I think that makes a... And I also listened to the podcast with Joe Rogan and stuff, so he sounds like a decent guy, too.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I listened to. He's been on there twice. I listened to both of those too, and I thought the same thing. I know people give him shit about not being like, maybe he's not a good trash talker, or maybe he's not going to catch the eyes of everyone. Especially a lot of people don't necessarily like the grappling style, which is not the case for us, but for a lot of people it is. But I listened on the Joe Rogan show. I was like, he just seems like a guy with a really big heart and real driven. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just real, like emotionally involved in everything.
Sociable guy, basically, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guy would basically tear up talking about how hard he worked to get here. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta appreciate that in someone for sure.
True.
So.
What do you guys
say
pick?
that?
What do you guys pick?
Well, my favorite all time is Michael Bisping, but I think I love Michael Bisping. It's not even a second guess. I think I've somehow brought up Michael Bisping on every episode of this podcast.
Yeah, seriously. Maybe I'll get on. Maybe I'll know you're a big fan.
In one way or another, intentional or not, somehow maybe we're talking about a story. I'm like, well, like they did with Michael Bisping, I'll somehow find a way to bring him up. But currently,
why is that? The reason, Cage?
I just think he's a dog, man. I think, and then I'm reading his book, and then I listen to his podcast, and he's a guy who he grew up fighting when you're not supposed to. You know what I mean? He grew up getting in trouble, because he didn't take shit. If you said something sideways to him, it's not like it is today where everyone's so sensitive. If you said something sideways,
you talked this through, huh, man?
You said something. If you said something sideways to Michael Bisping and on the streets of Clitheroe, England, he's probably going to smack you upside your head for it. And probably, yeah, he's just a guy who didn't, a lot like the Diaz guys are known for. He was a guy growing up. He just didn't take shit, and he got in a lot of fights. He went to prison because some guys beat up his. I'm telling his story, I guess, but some guys beat up his friend at a club, and then they went outside and he head kicked some dude, knocked him out, and ended up going to jail for it. And then the fact that he was in the game, he was in the UFC so long, and he was older, and he'd win one, lose one, win one, lose one, and he was always considered the gatekeeper. Like, he's the gatekeeper, he's good, but he'll never be champion. Now he's getting older, he's 36, he's 37. He just, it may be time to hang it up, and then he comes out and wins the belt, and then defends it once, and avenges an old loss that he had against Dan Henderson. I think his UFC story is the coolest, in my opinion. I think his story of being a street fighter who didn't have a job, he had a kid, a wife, the woman he's still with, and times were tough, paycheck to paycheck, welfare, all this stuff. And he said, I'm only really good at beating the shit out of people in bars. And then he takes that, and then he goes through a lot of adversity. Never lost until his last two in the UFC. Never lost 2 fights in a row his whole career. Every time he lost, never. Every time he lost, he won his next one. He's never lost 2 straight. Still considered the gatekeeper. And every time you watch all his old fights, every time he says, I still believe I have what it takes to be the champion. And everyone wrote him off. And then he comes back on 10 days notice or whatever, knocks out Luke Rockhold, another avenged loss, the guy that beat him before, and then defends the belt. I just think his UFC story is the coolest. I think he's a dog. And, yeah, so that's why. It's not even a question for me. But current fighters, Cowboy Cerrone. It's hard not to like him. He's just so likable. He's just a dude's dude. You know what I mean? Just a dude's dude. So, Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, my favorite fight. I'm a John Jones fan, just from
Oh
when I was
no. Okay.
yeah. So for me, like John Jones, I think John Jones when I was first becoming a UFC fan and kind of just like seeing him just destroy people at 23 years old was just cool. And like I think John Jones is a good guy that just makes bad decisions. Like I feel for the guy. I think he tries and he fucks up.
When fame hits you that early, it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
like I think he was one of those people, yeah, where like he had a huge sponsorship with Nike. Like people forget about that is when he signed with Nike, he was like 24 years old and he was he was the face of the UFC at that time. And like I mean that's a lot of pressure for a guy. So, I mean, he makes some mistakes, but I think he tries to learn from it. And I think he's a nice guy when you listen to him on podcasts. He seems like a pretty like down to earth, humble guy.
Yeah.
And then he's just exciting to watch. So I mean, I always
maybe he would have been better off by actually leaving the camp in Albuquerque and moving somewhere else because I'm not into these guys who are actually running the camp there. That was
Jackson MMA.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't like those guys to be honest. They seem a little artificial from my point of view.
Yes, sir.
Those guys when they're talking stuff. I don't know what your impression is on this, but that might have a what's it called, an effect on John Jones as well.
I think he definitely could have people that took care of him better. Like
if you listen, he talks. Cowboy Cerrone talks about this on one of Rogan's podcasts when he talks about when he left Jackson's because this guy Winklejohn came in and he said it became this I don't know how, like a circus. He said, guys are coming off the streets and they're training the same gym with you. They pay a certain amount and random guys can come in there and spar and talk to you. And he's like, no, we were we were a fighter's gym. And Cerrone had been with Jackson the whole time. And then he said once he brought Winklejohn in, Winklejohn turned it into like a
commercial account.
Yeah.
Everyone can come in here and train, and then they stopped looking out for the.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's why he's
like
left.
Paying $5,000 and you get to spar with John Jones, basically.
Yeah, awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, he's like you're in there training, and people are trying to take pictures with John Jones, and it's like, well, hey man, we're an elite gym, like we're here, we should be doing our thing, you know what I mean? And then he said the way that turned, you'd have to listen to him. I'm butchering it. You have to listen to him explain it. And that's why he left. He said that's what turned into. And then they did him dirty. Do you remember when he fought Mike Perry? It was Cerrone's last fight at welterweight before he came back down. Mike Perry trained out of there. I don't know if he still does. I think he does. And he said, "Yeah, we're back in Perry for this." They didn't want to corner or train Donald Cerrone. And he's like, yeah, and he's like, you guys can't be serious.
Well, they did that to Rashad Evans with John Jones. They said, "See you, Rashad. We're going." That's why Rashad Evans left. So
a lot of guys come, or I shouldn't say come and go.
Yeah.
So I think Eddie's onto something, man. Maybe he needs to go somewhere else. Hit up ATT or AK or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, get with our boy Arnold Allen. Go up to Canada.
TriStar.
True.
While we're here, why not ask Eddie? Eddie, what do you think the best? I've said before, I'm a big TriStar fan. I think Frost Hobby, and you're a coach yourself. I think Frost Hobby is like the Bill Belichick. That's probably a bad example for you. It's American football thing. Just the real. I think he's as good as it gets for MMA coaching, man. I think he's brilliant. I was wondering what you think who you think maybe the best big time coach is or gym is.
Well, it's definitely not Javier Mendez. That's not the guy from AKA. Okay, I mean this guy is like a striking coach as far as I can tell. He is having a lot of wrestlers who are taking that part over for him, so it's not him. That's for sure. I don't like these Winklejohn guys. Okay, whoever these guys are basically there, and. Matt Serra, I think he's a funny coach from New York, basically, right?
Yeah, I like Matt
I'm
Serra.
not quite sure if he's good enough as a coach because he hasn't produced anyone else so far as a champion or something. They have Ala Conta, but he didn't perform that much of a performance. So, most favorite coach, I have no freaking idea, to be honest. Okay, you caught me on the left foot here right now.
Caught you off guard.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Matt Brown at ATT is really, 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 really good.
Okay.
And I think for us to hobby at TriStar, I think they're the two best personally. But I just didn't know. You being a coach, I just didn't know if you had. I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
No,
if you had any like one.
I mean, Firas is he has good features for sure. I mean, this guy is like he has good fight IQ from my point of view. Watches the first round, adapts at the second, gives it to the fighter. The fighter changes quickly and stuff. You see that with GSP and stuff, right? So you always saw it with what was this guy, Red King, with the nickname Red King, who lost against.
You're thinking of are you thinking of Rory McDonald?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
he trains there too.
Exactly. He trained there too before he left actually to Bellator and stuff. I don't know what happened exactly there, but I think he was a good fighter too. And if you produce more than one fighter who is basically at the top of the line here, then I think that makes it a good coach anyway, right? So
yeah. I've listened to him on his podcast, just breaking down fights, and I mean this guy can talk about one round in detail for an hour. You know what I mean? Like that takes someone special. Like if you ask me to break down a fight, I might be able to break it down a little bit, but I'm not gonna be able to talk about.
He freaking gives you the scientific background as well, right? So.
Oh yeah, he's a brilliant guy. He's a brilliant guy. He's like John Danaher is for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, true.
John Danaher. There on Rogan's podcast, he talks about a Gordon Ryan match, a jiu-jitsu match, and he breaks down a jiu-jitsu match for probably 30 minutes. A 5-minute jiu-jitsu match. He breaks it. It just talks about it. See where his foot is here. This is going to relieve pressure here. This is going to do that. And they train together. So when Firas Zahabi is your head coach at TriStar, your jiu-jitsu coach is John Danaher. I mean,
shit. Okay.
He brings his guys down to Renzo Gracie's, where John Danaher coaches the jiu-jitsu. He brings his guys down there for their grappling. So, I just think that's a dynamic duo, man, with those guys. Those guys are brilliant at what they do.
True.
If you don't have anything else, we do have a listener question. I think we already kind of answered it, but I'll ask it. Alex, you want to read it? I can't find it.
I'm good at reading.
I can't find it.
From Let Me Meme, bro. Great name. Hey, so his question is, what do we do next? Making Tony versus Khabib again when all this Corona shit is over. Conor versus Gaethje. So rematch, Conor versus Khabib can make sense. So yeah, we kind of hit that earlier.
Yeah. Sorry, Let Me Meme, bro. Yeah. We were just talking. I guess to answer it again briefly, I think hopefully, no offense to Justin Gaethje, hopefully this scraps that interim bullshit we had coming.
Yeah, maybe this is a blessing.
Yeah, let's get to Khabib and Tony again. That's what I say. And then I do think Gaethje and Conor make sense. And then let's say winners fight each other and losers fight each other. If Conor beats Gaethje, give Conor the next title shot. And whoever loses between Tony and Khabib, let Gaethje fight him, or vice versa. I say winners fight winners, losers fight losers. That's a good like 4-piece puzzle right there of those guys.
True.
Totally agree.
Everyone agrees?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. I just don't want to see Tony fight unless it's Khabib next. I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would want to see it. I just think it fucks everything up. So.
True. The whole build-up.
You guys got anything else before we wrap it up?
Nope.
Eddie, tell our listeners where they can find you on social media. Tell them where your gym is. Whatever you want to plug, man, this is your time. This is the Eddie Show.
All right. Well, basically, I'm actually only on Instagram right now. I don't use Facebook and stuff. IG is the only thing we have. And the username is called grindgang_MMA. Okay, just check us out. I'm posting from time to time some stuff there, some videos, pictures, usually trying to put some memes going on, just like you, Gage. On your page, I like that stuff too. Try to keep it a little funny as well as a little serious. So if you're down to MMA fighting in Germany, especially Karlsruhe, this area here, then just hit me up and I might be able to help you guys.
Hell yeah. Eddie, you're going to be our number one sponsor. If you want to send us some shirts when you're ready.
I will do so, sir. No worries at all.
Yeah. How do they run big or small or what? How do they run?
I don't know. What do you guys weigh?
I'm 5'9", 200 pounds. 195, 200 pounds. I usually wear a large. Sometimes large is a little small. Sometimes in the extra large.
So you're roundabout like me. What about you, Alex?
I'm like 250, so I'm in the XL. I'm XL boy.
Okay. You're okay. You got L and XL sent over. Next shipping.
Yeah, send us some shirts. We'll wear them on the show, man. And we'll plug
We'll
your
do
gym
so
again.
for sure.
Yeah. Thanks
Thanks
for
a lot.
coming on, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for your time. Have a nice one, and we'll keep watching you for sure.
Thank you.
Great
Okay,
feedback,
great.
Eddie. Thanks again.
All right.
We'll probably bring you on again, man. That was a lot of fun.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
See you, buddy.
Take
Take
care.
care.
It will be a pleasure. Bye-bye. Peace.
See ya. All right. That was Grind Gang MMA. First name Eddie. Cool dude.
Cool guy.
Yeah, he was fun.
Fun talk.
Yeah, one of our number one listeners. I guess we can probably call him a number one listener now. He was a cool dude for sure.
Yeah, man. He's an MMA coach. He's in the game.
Yeah, we'll be the first to say we can be officially sponsored by Grind Gang MMA. We'll wear the shirt. He said he's gonna send us some shirts, so we'll wear them bitches on the video
for sure.
for the video version of the podcast, which is free on YouTube.
Yeah.
So what's next, Alex? Before we wrap it up.
We did just one thing that we didn't talk about. Just be hard because Eddie wouldn't been able to see it. But so Darren Till, we were talking about him. Funny dude. Still not our favorite English fighter. That is reserved for Arnold Almighty Allen, of course.
For sure.
But Darren Till, funny guy. He put up like a tweet of his like Fightchella, like it was a Coachella lineup that he thinks the UFC should do, and I actually I'm totally on board. Like I think they should do this. Like it'd be cool if they did like a weekend like on Fight Island where like I mean I guess they have to figure out how many people are allowed to be there, but still so like day like Friday. So Gage doesn't know what Coachella is, just for everyone to be aware of how good he is at pop culture. So for those of you who don't know, I guess there's a population out there. So it's like a big concert and they have like a shitload of artists all on stage each day. And so like it's a weekend festival.
Okay.
So, like, I think they should do like a Fightchella like that, like whenever like all the restrictions are done. Like, dude, I would like if you could pay to go watch just like 3 days worth. Like if you go like so like Coachella, people go on like vacation there. Like you fucking camp out, you get like your RV, you drive to Coachella, you do mushrooms and acid and listen to music for a weekend. Dude, if they did a Fightchella, so this was so Darren Tills was Tony versus Khabib to start off Friday, and then that would be the main event, and then all the undercards would be Adesanya versus Costa, Usman versus Masvidal, Covington versus Woodley. Then we'd have and then he has in the undercards, he has Leon Edwards sadly watching Covington versus Woodley, Cain Velasquez versus Nacho Libre. And then they'd have African American history with Mike Perry. They'd have the ghost of Ben Askren, Bruce Buffer 360, BJ Penn versus Drunken Hawaiian off the street. The Just Bleed guy, Face the Pain. We'd have hot dog eating contest hosted by Megan Olveri.
Megan Olivey.
Featuring Olivey, featuring Yoel Romero. We'd have Gustafson.
All guys who miss weight, basically.
Oh, really?
Hilarious.
Oh, that's hilarious. The Evolution of Dance presented by Holly Holmes. Yeah, dude, if he really made this, he's a funny fucking dude.
He is a funny guy.
Yeah. So that would just be Friday of Fightchella.
That'd be cool.
And then
Would be cool.
Saturday would be headlined by Miocic Cormier 3, Jones versus Reyes 2, Holloway versus Volkanovski 2, Nunez versus Shevchenko 3. And then there'd be a Henry Cejudo Must Be This Tall to Ride roller coaster. There'd be Hawani versus Hawani, Rob versus Darren, Ortega versus Korean Zombies translator, Sean O'Malley.
I don't like that matchup for
for Korean Zombies translator.
I don't like that matchup for him. I'd like to see it though.
Story
that'd
time
be cool.
With Francis Ngagwe.
Your names are awful. Francis Ngannou.
Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, the idea is great. I like it. I didn't know what it was, but now I'm all in.
Yeah. So how much would you pay to go to a 3-day just fight festival?
I mean, that'd be cool.
On an island. on Fight Island. If he opened it up to the public, dude, I bet that's what they're gonna do.
You think so? Something
Dude,
similar.
Think how much that would sell. If it's like Fire Island. Did you know about that? Do you know about pop culture for that?
No.
Well, it was this big scam that this big Ponzi scheme by Ja Rule and some guy who's in jail, where they tricked all these dipshits into buying plane tickets for like a Fire Island like music festival where it was literally like this, but it was on a secluded island. But like I'd be pretty confident that Dana White could pull off a real one. So like,
Yeah.
you know, throw a you know, hey, everyone's getting $1,200 stimulus check. Like, save onto that baby and buy a ticket to fight Cella.
I'm waiting on my stimulus check. When's that supposed to happen?
It's supposed to come out in 2 weeks.
No shit. Okay.
If you have direct deposit.
Sure. How do you do that?
I mean, does your tax return come directly to your bank account, or do you wait for a check? Yeah. Okay. As long as you're not like, yeah.
They'll use that to throw it in there.
They already have your banking information, so they just click a button.
Oh, gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right.
I like it.
That was the only scenario.
That's it. All right.
Fight Cello. I hope it happens. How much would you pay?
I don't know. I'd pay my whole
Probably
stimulus
$1,000.
check. I play my whole stimulus check there. Yeah.
Yeah, because like dude, one UFC event's like $350 to go to if it's a decent one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd pay. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm very frugal, so I'd have to include my hotel and shit.
And your plane ticket to the island.
Everything. Yeah, that'd have to be everything.
All right.
You got anything else before we wrap it up?
Nope. Another episode in the book. This will be on YouTube.
Yeah. Again, like I said at the beginning of the show, guys, all our shit's free. Everything. Spotify is free. That's the main one that people kept bugging me about. They're like, well, I don't have Spotify. I'm like, well, I mean, what do you mean? Like, you just get it. Like, just you don't have to pay for it.
You have an email address?
Yeah, but now you got YouTube, so you're good. You got YouTube. I want to say thank you to, and Alex read it straight up, but in case you want to type it and search it, thank you to let_me_meme_bro on Instagram. He's another listener. His original listener question was, what do we think will be the co-main, because Rose Namajunas got pulled out. He said, what do you think the co-main will be? No sense in answering that because we don't have a card. So he changed it, obviously, for that reason to the whole Tony Khabib. I guess I should call it the whole four-way: Khabib, Tony, Gaethje, and McGregor. So hopefully we answered that for you. And of course, big shout out to @GrindGang MMA. I think he mentioned it for sure, but if you look for him on Instagram, it is @GrindGang, one word, _MMA. Eddie was a cool dude to talk to. Thanks again, Eddie.
Yeah, he's not a German guy. He's a Turkish guy that lives in Germany.
Correct.
So we got that record, set that record straight too.
And your English was very good, for sure. And we'll have you on again, man, at some point. That was a lot of fun. Thanks again for listening, Eddie, and everyone else. Again, all our shit's free and on YouTube. Eddie, tell your friends, tell your fighters about the show. Now that you're on there, now they have a reason to watch.
Yeah.
You're kind of plugging your guys. You're like, yeah, I got 3 guys. They're amateurs. You know, I'm trying to work on my guys.
For now.
You know. For now. Might blow up now, dude.
Yeah.
So thanks again, man. We'll have you on sometime again. That was a lot of fun. Truly, for sure. And if you don't have anything else, Alex,
Nope. We'll wrap it up.
Okay, guys. You can find me on Instagram @DriverMMA. And also, we have an email. Alex, you want to plug our email? You guys can email us listener questions, too, if you want. You want to plug our email, Alex?
@thedoctorandthedriver1 @gmail.com.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, some other asshole has the doctor and the driver. I don't know who the hell it is, but
fucking yeah.
we had to be the doctor and the driver fucking one.
You think that'd be
probably a bot? There's no way it's a person.
Yeah, you think that'd be a super
what an asshole.
Yeah. So the doctor and the driver one, the number one, the digit @gmail.com. You guys can email us if you want listener questions. If you guys are interested in sponsoring the show, we're very good sponsees. I'll wear hats. I'll say whatever you want me to say. I believe in your product. I'm sure it's great.
I will be a puppet.
I will take free shit or money. I'll take free shit or money. And Eddie, we're waiting for them shirts when all this settles down. And I can't speak for Alex, but I'll wear my shit every show.
Sure, I'll do it.
Yeah, large or extra large, Eddie. I don't know how you think they come in. I'll take
probably gonna gain weight during this, so.
But probably. I've been running actually. Can't
Kudos.
grapple though. Can't grapple, so it's a bummer.
Alrighty,
guys. Thanks for listening again. You know where to follow us. All our shit's free.
Yeah.
Tell your friends. If you know anyone or would like to sponsor the show, we don't need money. I understand where you might be skeptical, but listen, we'll wear a shirt. We'll whatever you want. We'll plug your company or your brand or your sponsor. We'll dance. Yeah, Alex is a great dancer.
Sure.
I'm not good at anything, but
except Dance Dance Revolution.
Except that, and I'm good at wearing shirts. I can wear shirts pretty well. All right, man.
All right.
That's it. We'll wrap it up. Peace out, fellas. Stay safe. Wash your fucking hands.
Love you.
Love you.